Hey everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to my series of Ascendants. Today we will talk about the Aquarius Ascendant. That's right, George Clooney, Gwyneth Paltrow, Amitabh Bachchan, Amir Khan. These are all famous celebrities who were born in the Aquarius Ascendant. So before we proceed, let's quickly check which is your ascendant sign. So if you do not know what your ascendant or your rising sign or your Lagna is, click on the link mentioned in the description of this video. What you need is your time of birth, your date of birth, and your place of birth. And then you can find out what your ascendant is. Do not confuse this with sun signs because you don't need to be born on a certain month to be an Aquarius Ascendant. You could be born in July and still be an Aquarius Ascendant. Okay. A child born in a day could be any of the 12 different ascendants. Okay. It doesn't matter which month you're born in. All right. So once you figure out what your ascendant sign is and you see the number 11 in your first house, just like this, that means you are an Aquarius Ascendant. And to understand the Aquarius Ascendant, we need to understand Saturn a little bit because Saturn is the Lord of the Aquarius Ascendant. Okay. And Saturn is also the Lord of Capricorn. So if we look at this chart of the Aquarius Ascendant, the first house and the 12th house, they are both ruled by Saturn because Saturn has the joint lordship of Capricorn as well as Aquarius. All right. And what does Aquarius mean? Aquarius is the natural owner of the 11th house, which is why it is denoted by the number 11. So the 11th house or the Aquarius Ascendant is about the world outside. It's about the common people. It's about, the networking that people do. And since that comes, that energy also is the house of gains. All right. Since that energy comes to your first house and also the traits of Saturn, which means structure, discipline, patient, strong-headed. So all these things come to these people in their first house. So since the Aquarius sign is about going out to the world and networking, you could see Aquarius ascendants who like to study and observe people. If we look at their 10th house, that's the house of their karma, their career. And what sits there? It's Scorpio. And what does Scorpio signify? Scorpio signifies the deep unknown world, the unknown. So research work is seen from Scorpio. Okay. And you would see a lot of Aquarius ascendants. They want to know more about, they want to research. They feel whatever field they are in, they want to research, they want to know more about it. Okay. So Aquarians can make very, very good research scientists or, people who are into research work. They can also make great astrologers because astrology requires a lot of research work. And since that falls in that 10th house of karma, okay, of their career, it comes naturally to these guys. So if you have Aquarius friends or if you have Aquarius in your family, these are the people that would want to know the behavior of people. They're very intelligent people. They will observe human behavior. Great psychiatrists can be seen from the Aquarius Ascendant. Okay. They have the Saturn traits of being disciplined and structure, but since the 12th house influence is also there because Capricorn rules their 12th house, and 12th house is usually known to be the house of the subconscious. It's known to be an emotional house, so they are not as tough and hard as the Capricorns. Okay, their energy could be a lot softer and gentle. Also, it's an air sign. Okay, it's not an earth sign, so these people are way more social than the Capricorn ascendants. Since Aquarius the significator of the 11th house, rules their first house. Okay, and most air signs are known to be very social, just like Libra and Gemini, very social signs. Aquarius ascendants might not be as social, but they love to connect to the world outside. Okay, and they have the Saturn traits of being very structured and disciplined, which shows in their personality. All right, now let's look at their family, their second house of accumulated wealth, what they like to eat, and what about their family, right? Because second house is ruled by Pisces, and Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. And Jupiter becomes again a very important planet for them, because Jupiter also rules their 11th house. Their network circle, their friends, and their family both have the Jupiter energy, right? So their families could be from a very spiritual background. The 12th house energy of Jupiter. They could be very learned people. Like for Amitabh Bachchan, his father was a very, very well-known poet. And I have read his work. It's just fantastic, his poetry. It's a mix of humor, plus, you know, it gives you a message about life, touches some deep emotional roots, like Harivansh Rai Bachchan, Amitabh Bachchan's father. Okay. So their family could be also very religious. They could be from the hospitals or the doctor's background, because again, Pisces signifies that they could be associated with monasteries, social work. They could also be associated with foreign lands. You know, you could have a parent that could be born in a different country. Okay, and since the 11th house of networking, incoming gains, their friend circle, their social networking is all seen by Jupiter. And Jupiter, especially the sign of Saggy, is the sign of principles, long distance travel. So these are people who probably love, they usually like going out with their friend circle, probably to vacations. And then their friend circle could be very idealistic. They probably want to discuss about philosophy and the deeper meaning of life with their network circle. That's because their 11th house rules that. Their older siblings could be very spiritual. Their older siblings could be in the teaching profession, because Sagittarius is the sign of gurus. All right. Now let's look at their third house. Their third house, and what sits in their third house. Their third house is Aries, the energy of Mars. And we also looked at their 10th house, which is Scorpio, which again has the Mars energy. All right, which means if Mars is well placed, these are usually very courageous people. They're very hardworking people. All right, their speech, their way they communicate could be kind of harsh, could be authoritative, because the Aries energy of Mars rules the third house. Their younger siblings could be extremely active people. The younger siblings could be into a lot of physical activity, could be into a profession that has sport, that involves a lot of sports. They could be gym instructors. They could be from the military background. They could also be from the surgery background. They could be doctors as well. Okay. Now let's look at their fourth house. Their fourth house is controlled by Taurus. And Taurus is ruled by Venus, which means their home environment, their mother is usually very calculative about the wealth, because Taurus is the sign of accumulating wealth. So their mothers could be involved in some kind of, could be involved in some kind of investing their gold into, so that it multiplies. They could be, their mothers could be into accumulating wealth and multiplying wealth, because Taurus again falls in the fourth house of the mother, the home. And these people also want to make their homes very beautiful, because the Venus energy comes into the fourth house. So they would want to decorate their houses really, really well. Okay. Now let's look at their fifth house, where Gemini sits. So since Gemini is the significant of communication and the Mercury energy, this playful energy, and this comes to their fifth house. So they're usually very, very communicative with their children. Okay. if if you have a Aquarian parent, you would see that either your mom or your dad is Aquarian. You would see that they have great communication, again because they like to know people. They want to understand the behavior of children. They want to understand people. That comes naturally to them. Okay, and which is why you give Aquarians, you say something to an Aquarius. For example, I will tell you, I had a friend who's Aquarius, and when I was learning astrology, this was years ago, and I was telling him about it, he heard me out. And then after 2 weeks, he was asking me some technical questions about astrology, which means he has heard what I said, and he has gone back and he has tried, he found it interesting, because again, astrology is seen from the 8th house to some extent, is also seen from Scorpion, because you have to dig deep in to understand astrology. And since their 10th house has the Scorpio energy, they want to know more about it. So these are also these are signs. Aquarians could be also very learned people, because they really want to know about a lot of things. Okay, so their 5th house of children is ruled by Gemini, so they could be very communicative about it. 5th house also signifies the creativity. So they could express their creativity through communication. Okay, they could be great orators. Now let's look at their 6th house, and their 6th house is ruled by Moon, and since their 6th house is ruled by Moon, they usually do not have any enemies, because remember, Moon does not consider any planet or anyone as their enemy. But since it also signifies emotion, and 6th house is also the house of your daily work, so they could be very emotionally attached to their daily work. Okay, and the 6th house, I would like to talk a little bit more about it because of Amitabh Bachchan, because he was known to he got into a lot of debt, and 6th house is where the debt is seen from. Okay, so if your moon is not very well placed, okay, or your moon has been aspected by a malefic planet, then you must be very, very careful as an Aquarius ascendant if you're taking big sums of money as a loan from the banks, something that you would struggle for years to repay. Suddenly, because moon is very fast moving, okay, and especially if moon is ruling your house of debts, you could, your plan could just go for a toss on how you're going to repay that amount to the bank, and you could fall into great debt. Exactly what happened with Amitabh Bachchan. He made this, he borrowed a lot of money to make a company, and that completely crashed, and he was under in loans of millions of dollars. All right, so be very careful if you're listening to this and you're an Aquarius ascendant and you're going through a sub period of moon or a time period of moon, a dasha or antardasha of moon, and if your moon is not very well placed, you should avoid any form of debt, because that will become your enemy, because moon is a malefic planet for Aquarius ascendant. Okay, please make a note of that. All right, now let's look at their 7th house, and their 7th house is ruled by Leo. And what does Leo signifies? Leo signifies ego. Leo signifies the royal palace of the king. Leo signifies creativity. Leo signifies fun, adventure. Okay, and is ruled by Sun. So these people who like to observe the common people, they have this research behavior. They are also learned, intelligent people. They have the traits of Saturn, of being structured and disciplined. They like the royal, fun-loving, spontaneous energy of the Sun. Okay, they could be interested in people who have creative traits. People who could be into some kind of a creative field, like acting, or could be artists, could be great musicians. So they are fond of people who have that kind of energy, the Leo energy. Okay, they are also fond of people who are, because Leos are not very down to earth people, right? So they are not interested in the common, they're like the common layman kind of people who are like normal, because they observe normal people. They are one of the normal people because Saturn makes them like that. So they like the royalty, the dominant, the fiery sign of Leo. They like people that like to stand apart. They like people who like the spotlight, and Leo is all about that. Okay, so the Aquarius ascendants are attracted to spouses, their husbands, or their wives who can steal the spotlight, just like a Leo. All right, and they could have problems with their relationships, their marriages, or their business partnerships, because even business partnerships are seen from the seventh house. Okay, any kind of partnership is seen from the seventh house. So they also like to partner with the government organizations, because they could be into charity, social work, because they observe the people. They are all about the people outside, the masses. So they could be doing something with the government organization, tying up with the government organization to do some charity work, maybe. All right. So the problems in the relationships could come because of ego, because Leo has ego, Sun, and then the Saturn energy. Sun and Saturn don't really get along. Saturn is the common working class people, and Leo is the royalty. So they may have problem, although they like each other, but they have ego problems. Okay, and Aquarius ascendants may be may come across as quite soft in nature, but remember, Saturn is their ruling planet. When they when they finally lose it, they're usually good to talk to. You can have a conversation with them. They're nice. They will not bother you. The sign is of the flowing water, right? So it's like, but remember, if high tide, the same thing can become a tsunami, and if they lose their temper, they could have very explosive tempers. All right. Now let's look at their eighth house. The eighth house is again very interesting, because eighth house is the house of transformation. Eighth house is the house of sudden ups and downs. Eighth house is the house of longevity. It's the house of their in-laws, and since Virgo sits in their eighth house, so they are very analytic about the eighth house. They're also very analytic about any occult sciences, because eighth house astrology, occult sciences are seen from the eighth house, so they want to analyze it. Like I told you about this friend that I just told him about astrology, and after 2 weeks when I met him, he had already started reading and finding out about astrology. Okay, so they like to analyze the sudden events of life. They would want to research on stuff like, what is coincidence, right? Because coincidence is again seen from the eighth house. Something that you don't know, the unknown, is seen from the eighth house. Transformation is seen from the eighth house. So they like to analyze people, and they like to analyze transformation. What changes people? What transforms people? It's a very, very interesting sign, and very less is known about the Aquarius people. All right. You would find, even if you search search books, or search Google, or you search text, ancient texts, search YouTube, not too much information is there about the Aquarius ascendants, because they're also kind of mysterious. And the reason why I personally feel that is because they are part ruled by Rahu, right? So Aquarius ascendants and Scorpio ascendants. Scorpio is part ruled by Ketu, and Aquarius is part ruled by Rahu. So some people consider, some ancient texts and some astrologers say that since it's like it's the sign that is conjoining the spiritual realm and the tantric activities, because Rahu also partly owns them. So they could be into some tantric or spiritual activities, right? But there's no such evidence of that. But they might have a lot of interest in the eighth house related things, because the analytic sign of Virgo sits there. And remember, their 10th house is again Scorpio, which means their karma and what they want to do is again seen from the 10th house, right? So they could make great detectives, they could make great astrologers, they could make great research scientists, research work. They could have a PhD if they like, right? So that's their 8th house. And let's look at their 9th house. The 9th house is the Venus energy of Libra, which is their principles, their long distance travel, right? Their gurus, their father. So their principles are kind of balanced because Venus sits there. Okay, and if Venus is well placed, they could also go for higher education. Usually these people want to learn more, but whether they will get a college certificate or they would want to learn on their own, that is completely dependent on how well Venus is placed, or if Jupiter is aspecting the ninth house, or how how the ninth house is. That depends on their higher education. You could find if the ninth house gets good aspect, or if Venus is exalted in the second house, you could find these people with multiple degrees. They could have done a higher education in certain thing, then they would have done another certificate, and they would have lots of educational qualification. Okay, so that was their ninth house. We've discussed the 10th house, and we have discussed the 11th house. So that was my analysis of the Aquarius Ascendant. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button. And if you want a consultation, please go to my website, www.swamisaptaparni.com. Stay tuned for more videos, and it was nice talking to you. You all have a very good day. Talk to you soon. Bye.